Today, we're going to have a look at the Federal Reserve. We're going to have a look at their rate cuts and the impacts that's had so far on the markets. We're also going to check in very quickly with Polymarket. There's a couple of interesting markets there to look at. We're going to have an update on digital IDs back home over there in the UK. And then, of course, we will go through why Bullion is set to shine. First of all, before we get started, just a couple of bits of housekeeping, just to let you know that on the Contrarian Capitalist Substack channel and podcast this week, we've had Eric Young. The podcast came out on Monday. Robert from Infonomics spoke about the silent depression that the USA is currently having. That came out on Tuesday. And as of this morning, because it's just gone 10 o'clock here in Mexico, then I recorded a podcast with Clem Chambers, who spoke about, again, the US equity markets and whether they are in a boom or gloom mode. He also went into detail about commodities. That podcast is available to paid subscribers. That'll be released to everyone else later on next week. As always, if you are listening to this and you're not even a free subscriber of the Contrarian Capitalist, then please do so. You could become a subscriber for free. And there are also options to allow me to serve you at a higher level by becoming a paid subscriber. Biggest news of the week, arguably, is the Federal Reserve cutting rates. Not really a surprise. I think that we have seen a lot of news in the last few weeks, a lot of political pressure as well about what the Federal Reserve should do. Therefore, it's really no surprise that Jerome Powell decided to cut by 25 basis points. I mentioned in the various commodity and market wraps last week that it also looked like the equity markets had factored at least a 25 basis points cut in to their numbers. Just looking at where some of them are at the moment, it doesn't seem to be any change either. So therefore, well, what does that mean moving forwards? Well, that means that in terms of easing, in terms of QE, fiscal stimulus, I think that that's going to ramp up again moving forwards. If we look at the economic conditions in which the Federal Reserve has just cut into, just like other central banks around the world, Bank of England as well as the other one I keep my eye on, it's not good, it's not healthy, and it's just going to exacerbate the situation. What I would say is moving one step ahead of the game, looking at the Fed decision for October, because again, they're going to be meeting in October. And I'd like to welcome back one of our sponsors, Polymarket, to the Contrarian Capitalist. Those of you that have been with me for a while will know that normally on the commodity wrap and the market wrap, I like to have a look at a Polymarket market. Again, this is just people putting their cash where the mouth is, or whatever the phrase is. And at the moment, the Federal Reserve decision in October, there is a 82% chance of it being a 25 basis points cut. 14% of people are saying no change. 4.9% of people saying there'll be a 50 basis point decrease. And for an increase, there's less than 1% saying that there will be an increase in October. Now, for those that have been following me for a while, you know that I'm of the Peter Schiff camp, i.e. the rates as they are need to be much higher. So therefore, the actual answer should be for there to be continued increases in the interest rates. That's not going to happen. I think the Federal Reserve is trapped. Again, the Bank of England as well, probably the ECB, the European Central Bank, they're all trapped. Therefore, looking at this market with an 82% chance of a 25 basis points decrease, I would say that that is fair, personally. I don't think that the Federal Reserve is going to surprise even more to the downside with a 50 basis points cut or more. I also don't think they're going to remain stagnant either. So I think, again, just going back to this Polymarket market, 82% of people saying a 25 basis points decrease. That's correct at the time I'm recording this video. I would say that's accurate. The other one that is of note is Jerome Powell out as Fed chair in 2025. That's down to just 6% now. I think that's too high. I don't see that happening at all. I think that should be between 0% and 1% personally. And the reason I say that is that if you're in Trump's position, you are getting your own way. You're getting what you want. So you've put pressure on Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell has turned around with again, as we've just seen on the 17th of September, a 25 basis points decrease. So therefore, if you're in Trump's point of view, you're sort of getting what you want. As a result of that, he's only there until May in 2026 anyway. Is he going to be out as Fed chair in 2025? I say no, personally. And again, Polymarket's got this at 6%. I think that's way too high. I think it should be between 0 and 1%. There's always a post that comes with this video that I do. I'll put those charts on there as well. I'll put the links so you can have a look at them for yourself. And again, do go and explore Polymarket while you can. So the Federal Reserve has buckled under pressure. It's the wrong move to make. If we look at the various points of data from the USA as well, there are signs of inflation still being around and about. That's going to be a theme for the next 5 to 10 years, in my opinion. So what does this all mean for the equity markets? Well, I'm going to bring up the charts as I can see them at the moment. We'll start with the dollar index, actually. So the Dixie is down ever so slightly on the week. If we look at the S&P 500, S&P 500 is up just over 50 points on the week, just under 1%. It's at around 6,640. The NASDAQ up 1.7% on the week, about 420 points. It's at around 24,500. The Dow Jones as well, 46,160. That is up 320 points on the week so far, about 0.7%. VIX index is up. The VIX index measures the volatility of the S&P 500. That's up 6% on the week. It's at around 15.6, which in effect means normal market volatility expected. Now, the reason I say all of that, and the reason I bring that to your attention, is that, again, because of the decision that was made yesterday, it looks like that the dollar is going to continue to get weaker, or the dollar index is going to continue to get weaker. That then means that if you are looking at the US equity markets in US dollar terms, that's likely to increase. They're likely to increase. I mentioned Clem Chambers and I recorded a podcast this morning. Clem was saying the same thing, that what he expects, and he was looking at various correlations out there, that he's expecting it to be onwards and upwards for the next 12 months or so for the US equity markets. That's a sentiment that I would agree with, and that's based on the absolute basics and fundamentals that the dollar index is going to continue to decrease. Therefore, things priced in US dollars are likely to go to the upside. Voila, there are the US equity markets. Of course, it's not just the US equity markets that we need to pay attention to. If we see, let's have a quick look at the commodities so far this week. So looking at the gold futures, it's pretty much unchanged. Again, at the time of recording, which is roughly 12:30 Eastern time on Thursday, the 18th of September, gold is up $1.80. It is up 0.05% at the time of recording. That's the futures. Not a lot of change going on there at all. If we look at silver, silver's actually down 37 cents, down just under 1%. It's around 41.80 at the moment. And a quick look into platinum. Platinum down on the week. Again, down by $11, and not a lot going on there. And if we just have a quick shift over at palladium, again, palladium's ever so slightly down on the week, $38 at the time of recording, about 3%. Although the long-term perspective of bullion is very bright, I would expect a bit of short-term to medium-term volatility. I know a lot of you have been calling for Gary Savage to come back onto the podcast. I'm delighted to say that we're going to be recording next week. We're scheduled in, I think, for Tuesday morning. So do watch out for that episode and YouTube video to drop. So we're seeing in the precious metals, or PGMs as well, that they seem to be taking a bit of a backward step this week. That's absolutely fine. That's normal. I'm happy about that, to be honest. It's healthy behavior. And the reason I'm happy about that is that it just provides more opportunity. So if you are yet to take positions in bullion, then again, this isn't financial advice. I'm not telling you to go out and do it. But if you are yet to take a physical position in physical bullion, at least go and do some homework, do some research, do some reading, listen to podcasts, follow the Contrarian Capitalist, of course, and then make your decisions that work for you. Is there going to be a bigger pullback? Yes, it is possible. Would I be banking on that to happen before getting involved? Personally, I wouldn't. I'd be looking personally to dollar cost average in. So therefore, David Morgan said this a few weeks ago. I would heed that advice as well. Again, if you think $41.70 is too high for an ounce of silver, just wait till it's triple digits and you'll look back and think that that was incredibly cheap. Again, not financial advice. Please do your own homework, do your own research, do things that work for you. We'll leave the markets to one side and we'll look at digital IDs. Peter Samuel, thank you for your comment. You're echoing what I'm thinking. Digital IDs is what the Antichrist will need to control everything else. Be careful what you wish for. Yes, on the post that comes with this video, there are going to be a couple of screenshots of digital IDs. I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago in the last video, to be honest, and there's a lot of tinfoil hatters out there. But that being said, what they are saying seems to be coming true. If I look at a picture that was on one of the motorways back over in England, and this was on the back of a van, it doesn't look like it's been photoshopped or AI or anything like that. To me, it does look completely genuine. And it's just off the back of a white van. It says, if you resist only one thing in your life, resist digital ID. You'll be very sorry you didn't. And then that's followed by no to central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. We've spoken about immigration before. We've spoken about, immigration policies, migration policies, and everything else in between. I'm not the only one that said it, and that is that what the government would do is that they would use along the lines of a manufactured issue, in this case, immigration, and then they would use that as a cover up to bring in digital ID. That is what's happening. That is what's going to happen. Therefore, it's important for people to rise up and not do that, in my opinion. There's petitions out there as well for no to digital ID. It's not good. We've even just looking at the second article or the second headline. Again, I'll link to this in the post that comes with this. Starmer confirms government considering digital ID plan. Of course, this goes back to Tony Blair in the 90s. It's another way of control. That's what it is. Who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, who's done this, who's argued against government, who's said bad things, who's eating meat. Yeah, you name it. It all sounds a bit crazy. But again, that's the joy of the Contrarian Capitalist. These things are coming to fruition. Therefore, it's important. This is why I enjoy doing these videos, because it's spreading the message, it's spreading the word, and it's saying to yourself as well, look, hey, this is what's on the horizon. This is what's coming down the road. This is what you can do to protect yourself. That's not just in the UK that this is happening. Again, I don't have the article right in front of me, but in Vietnam, that is, I believe, later on in the year, they are in the process of suspending millions of bank accounts over in Vietnam, because their policy that they have is if you do not have a digital ID, so you do not hand over your biometric data, bye-bye banking. Now, there's a few people online that are saying, well, that's very communist and so forth. Well, Vietnam is a communist country. Why do you think they've got a massive star on their flag? Vietnam is a communist country. It might not act like it. It is quite capitalist in a lot of respects. It certainly was when I was back there in 2011. But Vietnam is more left-leaning. Therefore, I'm not surprised to see things happening over there with regards to digital IDs and the government clamping down on things. But that's what's happening in Vietnam. And that's what's going to be happening to a lot of people, that they have not surrendered their biometric data to the government. Therefore, as a result of that, their bank accounts, I believe, are going to be frozen. Now, we can all sit here and go, well, yes, but I'm in Mexico, or I'm in the USA, and I'm in the UK. Our governments would never do that. Think again. This is coming down the road, whether you like it or not. It's a form of control. It is the ultimate form of control, whether we like to believe it or not. So therefore, it's important to stand up for that. As the channel says, there's, the Contrarian Capitalist channel says, protect your wealth, defend your freedom, outsmart the system. So I'm a massive advocate on having a plan B. Get out while you still can. Also look at physical metals as well. Given everything else that's happening, again, we all need these levels of protections, not just for ourselves, but for our spouses, for our families as well. It's going to happen in the UK. It is happening at the moment. It will be, again, if we keep giving an inch, give another inch, next thing you know, they've taken so many inches that it's turned into a mile. This is why digital ID is important to reject it, because it is another method of control. And again, no, I'm not the only one that said this, that the government would take a situation, they would make that situation worse, i.e. immigration, and then they would magically come up with a solution. Oh, we've got a digital ID and we need that because of all these, undocumented people that we are allowing into our own country, etc., etc., etc. I'm sure it's not just the UK in this position. There are many other countries in a very similar position. The point being, it's just part of the globalist endgame, is part of the World Economic Forum, Club of Rome, Davos, you name it. They're all going to be involved in this to some capacity. The point being, in my opinion, reject it. Do not succumb to it. And if you want to be truly independent, be truly free, that's where you need Plan B. That's where you need to have exposure to gold and silver, even platinum as well, because certainly in gold and silver's case, they are money. Gold is the ultimate money. Gold is God's money. Silver has an incredible amount of industrial uses. It also does have monetary uses as well. If you're able to do that, then if you are suspended from your bank or whatever happens, but you've got a pile of coins or bars sat around, then you do have some barter, you do have some leverage there. There's no counterparty risk to any of it if you've got it in your own home or anything like that as well. The key features here of gold and silver. Again, be careful with the digital IDs. Again, they'll bring it in and then it'll be, you can't travel this year because you've taken up too many carbon emissions. Or, hang on a minute, meat's not good for you, even though it is. Meat's not good for you. You need to eat more vegetables. Sorry. Oh, you're not able to do this. Oh, by the way, just hand us over all your biometric data as well, just so we can keep an eye on you. It's not healthy. And again, everyone listening to this video is going to have an understanding of this. There are billions of people out there that think that digital IDs are going to be the way forwards, and that's what we need because that's a government rescue plan and they need to save us. That's why we're contrarian capitalists. That's why all of you watching this are contrarian capitalists. That is why you watch this channel, is because you can see the wheat from the chaff. You can sort the wheat from the chaff. So that's why it's an honor to do these videos. Just to recap on what we've spoken about, we've looked at a couple of Polymarket markets. We've also looked at the Federal Reserve cutting rates. Again, what the odds are of that happening again in October. We've looked at the equity markets as they stand at the time of recording. We've also looked at the bullion markets as well. We've then gone on to digital IDs and why it's important to say no to them. Then, as a result of that, there's two solutions: physical metals and a Plan B, Plan C. I wrote about a Paraguay update that came out yesterday, and that is where we are in Plan B and Plan C. Highly recommend you go and read that. It's completely free to read. I should say that moving forwards on the Contrarian Capitalist channel, the commodity wrap will be with you after market close on Friday, the 19th of September. On the 21st of September, the market wrap will be with you. There's a couple of fantastic guests lined up for the podcast next week. There's also a guest post as well from the Coastal Journal, and that will be on the Contrarian Capitalist next week. I always like to say, please do allow me to serve you at a higher level. Again, if you are not even a free subscriber to the Contrarian Capitalist, then please do become a free subscriber. If you are already a free subscriber, please allow me to serve you at a high level. Do please become a paid subscriber. That gives you early access to all of the podcast interviews, all the expert podcast interviews. It also gives you access to around 10 newsletters / macro videos a month. They're always behind the paywall. Again, we look at contrarian views, any stock updates. I don't do a lot of stock moving, to be honest, but again, those updates are there as well. The mining portfolio so far this year, I think it's about 51% up. So not doing too bad behind the scenes there. Again, please do allow me to serve you at a higher level, just for the price of a couple of cups of coffee a month. If you go for the monthly, it's $11. If you go onto the annual, I think it then works out at about $9.20 a month. That's US. So again, just for the price of a couple of cups of coffee a month, the channel's growing. The amount of founding subscribers is growing as well. That's a one-off lifetime investment. The amount of paid subscribers is growing. Everything's growing on the channel. And again, it's a thank you to you for enjoying and believing in the content, and also for spreading the word with everyone in your network as well. I'll be back with the commodity wrap tomorrow. Again, please do go and check out the post that comes with this video. All the various images and links and articles and the Polymarket information will be in there as well. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll be back with the commodity wrap tomorrow. Take care now.